I used to be terrified of the IRS because I thought they have all this power. They don't. Once I learned that I could talk back to an IRS agent and challenge them, and I got over a lot of my fear.
Most people don't realize that their choices are why they're in the situations, because they have the victim mentality. You know, they're blaming the president.
I'm not here to be the moral, how much you should pay the government. I'm here to follow and figure out how to beat the law in your favor.
What it is, Brad Lee, back again with another episode of Dropping Bombs. Today in the studio, folks, as always, I got a real treat for you. Mr. Bob Wheeler is in the house. Welcome to the show, Bob.
Glad to be here, Brad. Appreciate it.
Folks, if you guys don't know Bob Wheeler, you're about to. You can find him on Instagram at the Bob Wheeler. He is a CPA with a twist. When he's not crunching numbers, he's off climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, reaching Everett Base Camp, or performing stand-up comedy. He's also not only a financial expert, but you happen to be the CFO of the Comedy Store.
I do.
That's been a while now.
It's been a while. I did not plan that path. I was doing stand-up comedy, and I got a call from Mitzi Shore, who said, "You gotta come help me out." I was like, "No, thank you." 27 years later.
Did you know her from doing the Comedy Store?
Yeah, I actually was I had a show at the Comedy Store that I produced, and I'd been doing comedy about 5 years. And a friend of mine whispered in her ear that I was a CPA and that I could maybe help her. We were having some financial issues and some tax issues. And I came in and helped, became personal friends with Mitzi, became her personal accountant. And 27 years later, I'm still kicking.
How long did it take for the Comedy Store to start making some dough, or does it?
It does. Well, you know, it's cyclical. Before, when she had a place in Vegas and all these things were happening, she was making a lot of money. Then she had some issues, health issues, and just different things happened. Comedy wasn't popular. So when I came in, it probably took us about 10 years with some few moments of, oh, this is not going well. And eventually, you know, it shifted, and I don't think we're ever going to go back there. We're not looking back.
Did you obviously meet the kid? What's his, Polly?
Oh yeah, Polly, Peter, Scotty.
Oh, there's more.
Oh, there's 4. Just Polly's the comic.
Yeah, Pauly Shore. He got big for a little while. Did he make a shitload of money?
He did. He's done well, and then he took a break and sort of got all his fame early. Took a little bit of break, and he's sort of making a comeback right now.
Do you think his Weezer, or, you know, that personality he had kind of pigeonholed him into now he's always that guy?
Not, you know, it did for a bit, but I think he's been really working a lot on the road the last few years, and I mean, people know him. It's amazing. I actually opened for him a couple of years ago down in La Jolla. We did 6 shows, and he could have just stood up there and recited the alphabet, and people loved him. Like, yeah. I went, "Polly, man, you don't even have to do anything." And he goes, "Yeah, I know," which is good and bad because you don't really get any feedback because everybody's just loving and adoring you.
Yeah.
You know, he's been working hard, so I think we'll see some new things coming from him.
Does he want to act?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you'd think if he came out in a serious role without the old Polly kind of stigma, he would. I think he would do well.
Yeah, he's actually working on the Richard Simmons biop.
Really?
Yeah, he jokes about it because Richard Simmons was like, "You're not going to play me." Polly's like, "No, I'm going to be great." And then, you know, Richard died. So Polly's like, "Well, I'm still doing it." So that's awesome. That's in production.
So you were a CPA trying to be a stand-up?
Yeah.
And then coincidentally, she needed CPA help?
She did. And yeah, I mean, look, comedy is my passion. It's a lot of fun. It is not the road to, you know, riches for everybody. It's a lot of work and a lot of heartbreak and a lot of rejection. And I also grew up with not a lot of money, so being poor was not something that I thought would be fun to continue that trend. And so accounting for me was a very stable bread and butter, death and taxes. So finding the balance in both. Like, I still love to get up on stage. I'm not looking to go on national tour, but I enjoy making people laugh. And I also love people helping save on their taxes, and I also like helping people find out what's ultimately driving them, getting to the mindset, the money mindset.
As a CPA, if Trump instituted a flat tax where it's just 20% across the board, doesn't matter, no exemptions, no nothing, would CPAs and all that go away?
Tax preparers would go away. But there are still people in finance that, like, I do audits. I help people with business strategies. I work with a lot of small businesses and entrepreneurs. So there's all kinds of business decisions you have to make regardless of whether you're paying a tax on it. So it absolutely would destroy a lot of people that are just tax preparers. But as a CPA, I've got a pretty solid background in finance.
Do you think it would even ever be possible for that to happen?
I don't know. I actually wouldn't mind it. I do think there at least has to be maybe the first 50 or 75,000 should be just not taxed for people that are just getting by.
I like that.
You know, I mean, it has to be a little bit of cushion for the folks at the bottom.
But why though?
Because not everybody's there by choice.
Well, I know, but 20% flat makes sense to me. And that way you made 10 grand, you owe me 2 grand. You made 10 billion, you owe me, what is that? 2 billion. So, I mean, it's all the same. But if you, I do like that, you know, hey, you can get like a standard of living tax free.
Yeah.
But if you're not up to that level yet, the government doesn't need your money.
Yeah, absolutely. And the reason for me that I want that little bit of a safety net, you know, maybe I've got 6 kids and you're single and you just inherited a bunch of money and I'm, you know, it's not an even playing field when I'm looking at that money.
Well, so you can't bring heartstrings into it. You got to keep it business. Business is, hey, you shouldn't have had 6 kids, bud.
Well, maybe, but they had a lot of heart.
They had a lot of something. Okay, so I noticed you have a book called The Money Nerve.
Yeah.
Now, by the way, folks, The Money Nerve you can get for $1.
Yeah.
$1.
$1bookdeal.com.
$1bookdeal.com.
$1.
The Money Nerve. What am I going to learn when reading that?
You're going to learn and explore what are your money fears, what are your money triggers, what emotions come up for you when you get money, when you don't have money, and really starting to look at what choices am I making unconsciously so you can bring them to consciousness. Like, I'll have people tell me, I'm so broke. Okay, well, you just took 12 vacations and we're looking at, oh yeah, no, I'm not broke. I'm making choices that don't serve me, or I'm indulging in things that feel good in the moment. And so really getting people to take away that victim mentality and really step into, I'm choosing these things.
That's right. See, I got my own little audience on social media, and podcast has a group called the Bomb Squad that listens, and I try to say that all the time because, again, at the end of the day, we have what's called free will. And free will means you get to choose. And most people don't realize that their choices are why they're in the situations, because they have the victim mentality.
Right.
You know, they're blaming the president. They're blaming they don't have a car. But at the end of the day, it is really your own fault. And coincidentally, you are the solution as well.
Absolutely.
So I would say everyone should go get that book if that's what it teaches them. Because, dude, that's almost psychiatry.
Yeah.
So where'd that come in, psychiatry?
Well, you know, I was doing my own work. So I was doing a lot of therapy. And in my tax meetings, I was doing a lot of therapy. People were having breakdowns. People were deciding if they were leaving their spouses. Like, it just became full-on therapy sessions. And so I got into that. I studied it. I went through a program, Core Energetics, Radical Aliveness, about somatic therapy, and really just trying to understand from a psychological point of view, and then how do I bring that into the money game? Because I just had so many people, you know, tell my husband they're wrong. Like, okay, are you on the same team, or do you want to be right? Like, or do you want to be in a relationship, or whatever it might be, to try and start to understand that there's an emotional impact to the choices we're making or not making. I'm not going to take that job because I might actually have to stand up and be seen as a leader. I'm not going to save this money because people will think I'm rich and undeserving. I might have to set boundaries. I might have to say no. I might not please everybody. And so there's all this stuff that comes with having success, making good choices. You're going to be in the spotlight.
Yeah, so I think that's important. Let's drill in on that a little bit, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's make it a little therapy session for me.
Absolutely. All right.
Because, dude, limiting beliefs, I think are big. And a lot of people, like when you were saying what you were saying, nobody thinks that, but they do. They just don't realize that's what they're thinking. Is this subconscious?
It's all subconscious. Most of it's subconscious. And a lot of this stuff we were taught 3, 4, and 5, and 6, we're taking it all in. And then we go out as adults and we start acting as if that's the truth without checking it out. We don't update the information. And so we're making decisions. Oh no, mom and dad think I'm bad, or they won't love me anymore if I make this choice. Or, oh, if I'm in a church, they might think that I'm not pious enough. And so a lot of this is unconscious, and we're just doing it to avoid having to feel uncomfortable.
So how do we break that? Does that book teach me that?
It does.
Dude, you're going to get $1 million from all the people rushing to get a $1 book.
Absolutely.
The book's called The Money Nerve.
The Money Nerve. Navigating the Emotions of Money. Because when we start to take responsibility, and a lot of us don't, it's much easier and more fun to blame other people. It's your fault. I didn't do anything. I don't need to do anything to change. But once we can take responsibility and say, oh, yeah, I get a benefit by staying small. Oh, this is my payoff. But it's also costing me getting to show up the way I want to show up. And so if I can start to look at those things and say, oh, I'm making that choice. I'm not putting money aside. I'm putting everything on credit.
What if they say, I don't have any money to put aside? I'm broke.
I would look at that too. For me, the book is about getting really curious. Why don't I have any money? Isn't that interesting? This is my line. I never have money, or I could have money, or that's for other people. We got to get really curious and get really uncomfortable, because if we're comfortable, we're not moving. We're staying right on that couch. If we're starting to go, I need to take some responsibility here. My life's not where I want it to be. I'm not showing up the way I want to really show up. In my mind, I'm this superhero. I'm this powerful, but I'm not doing anything. I have to make a choice. Do I want to get up and actually put my passion where my chops are, where I'm like, oh, this is what I want, but I'm not actually. It's all no action. I got to take action.
Probably similar to doing stand-up.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that would be shitting their pants to get up on stage.
Right. Yeah.
Now, see, I don't have that, but I might have the money limitations.
Yeah.
I mean, and now I make a good chunk of change. I'm what you consider rich if you have no money.
Right.
But I'm considered, decent if you have money. but I think I had limiting beliefs around money. I just didn't know it, but somehow I've overcome them.
Yeah.
So listening to this, I would be like, so how do I break this cycle? Because there's a lot of people that want to make money, and they're not hearing what you're saying, because they're like, well, yeah, but it's easy for you to say. Like, I always get people saying, dude, it's easy for you to say you're rich and good looking. And I say, well, I haven't always been rich.
Exactly. Well, I mean, I think the biggest question is, are you willing to do the work? Are you willing to get uncomfortable?
But they'll say yes, of course. Yeah, I'm willing to do the work. I just don't know what work to do.
Well, then start looking. Start failing. Start stepping out and making choices and saying, oh, that didn't work. Oh, I don't want to be in this industry. Oops. Oh, wait, here's my niche. Here's where I feel good.
You mean you don't just have a get-rich-quick pill?
Oh, I was working on it. I'm working on it. Maybe we can work on it together. And
yeah, because people are afraid to take the chance.
Yeah.
Which I don't understand, because if there's someplace they don't want to be, why are they so unwilling to let that go?
Well, I think we've gotten so comfortable. I think most people, and I will admit this for myself, I spent most of my life living in fear. I thought that deciding to take a course or do a speaking engagement would literally kill me. And so for me, for a long time, just because of my own history and my own whatever, my story, I thought everything was going to kill me. My friends were like, you need to do this. It'll really change your life. I'm like, it'll probably kill me. I'll die. Then I was like, oh, I didn't die. Oh, okay, good information. I didn't die every time I made a choice that was uncomfortable. And then I just started building that skill set. But I think a lot of people in this country, in the world, operate from fear. And so if we're operating from fear and we don't know that there's going to be any kind of safety net, why do it? And if we can start finding the tools and finding the support and people around us that will actually advocate for us instead of trying to take us down, we can actually work through that and step up. even if you're scared to death and your voice is shaking, still stand up and say, I'm here, I want to be counted, and my voice matters. But most of us are taught, just stay quiet.
Fly under the radar.
Fly under the radar. You'll be safe.
Yeah.
You won't live. You won't have a passionate, amazing life, but you'll be safe.
So your advice to somebody in that, I always say condition.
Yeah.
Because I think it's a condition.
Yeah, I like that.
Not a position.
Yeah.
You're in a condition.
Yeah.
So to me, you want to get out of that condition, you got to like take some action, go out there and just start punching and getting kicked.
Absolutely. Like stand-up comedy. You're going to fail. You're going to bomb a lot. You're going to try something. I have a joke that I went out and did it the first few times. People were like, you're evil. How terrible. You should be ashamed. You should not. Oh, no, it's just about, pet value days, right? The day you find out your pet needs medical attention, you have to find out how much it costs before you determine your pet no longer has value, right? Because I have to draw the line, $300. Visa draws the line at $300, right? But people got really angry at me that I'm like, you would kill your cat. Well, we all have to make decisions. But I knew I was onto something because so many people were coming at me wanting to threaten me.
Yeah. I
knew I had the right topic. I just didn't have the right delivery. And so I took that information. It took me about 2 or 3 years, worked it out till I get up. I know that joke's always going to kill. And I keep adding to it. And I keep it fresh.
Do you perform at the Comedy Store too?
I do perform at the Comedy Store and other places that'll have me.
So do you tour or no?
I don't tour because running the store and running my tax practice and all the other things I do, I like to sort of be in LA. But I'll do, like with Pauly, I went down and did 6 shows out of town, and I'll go around here and there, but I'm not looking to go on national tour.
Have you guys ever tried to toy with pricing? Because what's the best ticket you got at the Comedy Store?
Well, it depends. It depends on who's in the lineup. If you've got Sebastian or, back in the day, a Robin Williams or Richard Pryor, Jim Carrey, those tickets are going to sell for more.
For how much?
Well, we don't get, maybe you pay $100 most.
See, that's what I mean. Like, what? $100? Shit.
Dave Chappelle is just not going to let us charge that much because that's the Comedy Store for a lot of comics is a workout place.
Do they say you can't charge that?
Yeah, some do.
Or they won't come?
Yeah.
I'll be damned.
Because
I've always thought comedy shows in general are fairly inexpensive. Like they're just not very much.
It really depends on where you're going and if it's a saturated market. But if you go to the Comedy Store, a $25 ticket some nights is going to get you David Spade and Sebastian and Whitney Cummings and Bobby Lee. And
it's killer value.
It's killer value.
What about Joe Rogan? Didn't he perform there a lot?
Oh, forever. And he packed the house. He's part of the reason we got back in good financial shape. He had a following. He still has a following. Now he loves being in Austin and he's not planning on coming to LA anytime soon. But of course we'd welcome him back. We'd love him there.
If anybody's listening that wants to be a comic, how would they slide their way in and get on an open mic? Do you guys have open mic?
We do have open mics. You got to show up on Monday nights. The Friday before, you got to put your name in. And Monday nights is packed at the Comedy Store of lots of hopeful comics, big dreams. And you just keep showing up. People start to recognize you. You get some spots. People mention, hey, that guy was funny. That lady was funny. And you just got to keep showing up.
Have you ever seen anybody that jumped on stage and bam, just instant hit?
Yeah. Yeah, I was at the club a couple months ago and some kid, I don't remember his last name, Liam something, and he'd never been at the club and somebody had thrown him up. And I could tell you the audience and the staff, everybody was just, we're like, who is this guy? Where did he come from?
Why don't you guys sign him?
He'll be performing.
You see, if I was running that comedy club, I'd be like, Mitzi, we need to raise the tickets. Yeah. We need to become a management company. Because like that kid, he might end up the next Chappelle.
He will, and there's lots of clubs that do that.
Oh, they do?
A lot of clubs do that. We don't. Mitzi was like, this is an artist colony. This is a workout space for all the misfits. And it was all about the artistry, not about the money. Yeah. Never about the money.
Yeah. How'd you like that as a CPA?
Hard to process. It felt like every time I used to get her financially to a place where we're good, she'd go spend. What are you doing, Mitzi? Come on. But her son runs it now, and we've been a lot more business-like in some of our approaches, but still holding on to the artistry.
How many seats are in that venue?
So in the main room, 375. In the original room, which is where it all started, it's about 145. And in the belly, we seat 72 to 75.
So not that you're thinking like this. I'm just entrepreneurial, so I'm always thinking. But I'm thinking in my head. So if I announced that I'm going to be at the Comedy Store and I sold out the house, would you guys let me do it?
Oh yeah. Yeah, we have door deals with high profile comics that we know are going to sell the door. We do that.
Have you ever had people that said they'll sell tickets, but the tickets didn't sell?
Oh, sure.
Is it hard selling 300 seats?
Yeah. And in LA, there's so much distraction of other things going on. I think now this is a long time ago, and most people probably won't know this, but I remember Mitzi was infatuated with Tiny Tim. He was this guy with the ukulele, like 100 years ago, and he got married on TV, and he was all these things. She did 2 shows for him. She bought thousands of roses or tulips. She had tulips all over the floor in the seats. Nobody showed up, and she was devastated for him. She didn't care if she spent all the money, but Tiny Tim drew nobody.
See, I think in my head, because I might be just overvaluing myself, but I'm thinking like if I made an announcement, hey, I'm going to be at the Comedy Store on this day. Come check it out. I'd get thousands of people in there.
We'd all love to believe that and hope for it. But
I almost want to test it.
No, it's great. Well, even Tim Dillon did the show the other night, and I think we sold 264 tickets. And
is that good?
No, we had 375 seats.
So packing the house is 375.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, I would buy them myself if I couldn't pack it, but then I'd be there by myself.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, after they've seen you a couple of times, well, I know your material. You're not writing new material. You're not writing a tight hour every week. Yeah. So I've heard a lot of the jokes. I'm not going to go every week. Even as a friend, I'm going to be like, hide from so-and-so. He's got me coming to another show.
Yeah. I would only do it just to see if I could sell 375 seats.
Yeah. First time out, for sure you could. You know?
Yeah. Well, again, the reason I was telling you in the green room that I did it once.
Yeah.
I know I can do it. I could take that set and polish it now that I've heard it, and I think it'd be a funny set. But what I realized was, you got to go now not tour, but like, show up at smoky bars and open mics, and I'm gonna have to like spend years paying my dues.
Yeah.
And only to what? Like, how much do you get paid? What's a normal comic, not a stadium type comic, but a normal comic get paid?
They might be making $5,000 to $15,000 a weekend. It adds up, but that's that's the weekends. That's not the weeknights. And then there's shows that, nobody comes or they get canceled. You can make a good living, but you got to keep hustling. You got to keep hustling. You're only as good as your last show.
All these comedians that are out in the world wanting to perform at the Comedy Store.
Yeah.
How would they do that? You guys turn a lot of them down, I'm sure.
We do. Mitzi always said, never encourage mediocrity. And if she didn't like you, go somewhere else. She wasn't saying you couldn't make it, but you weren't going to make it at her club.
Yeah, well, I like that about her.
Yeah. Oh, she was direct.
That purist.
She was pure and direct. She didn't like you. She didn't like you. She loved you. She loved you.
I'll be damned. How did she get into comedy? Is she a comedian?
Well, so Mitzi was married to Sammy. Sammy opened for Elvis Presley. And
Sammy who?
Oh, Sammy Shore.
Oh, I was going to say Sammy Davis. What are you talking about?
So Sammy Shore was a comic, and he toured, and he opened for Elvis. And Elvis loved him, and then at a certain point, he was like, "I'm going out on my own. I don't need Elvis." And he and another guy, Rudy, decided to open this club, and it was just a room, the original room on Sunset. And Mitzi ended up running it because they were out on the road. And she decided to call it the Comedy Store. And we don't sell jokes. Well, we do sell jokes there. We just, you don't get them packaged. And she just made a success of it. The other thing that happened with the Comedy Store is the Tonight Show had just moved to Burbank, and Johnny Carson was into comics. So it was sort of perfect timing. And then she just had a knack for spotting people with talent. Robin Williams, Freddie Prinze, Richard Pryor, Roseanne Barr, like the list just goes on. And she built it from there. She wanted to always be a writer. She wanted to be a writer.
What did she think of Liam?
Well, she didn't get to see Liam. She's passed. She passed.
Oh, she did?
She did. She passed in 2018.
Oh, bummer.
And but no, she loved comedy. She loved comics. And no, she was an amazing, unique, powerful, charismatic woman. She's
like an icon in the comedy business.
Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure.
She was like a mom to everybody.
Well, yeah, godmother of comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was the one.
So let me get back to money only because I mean, comedy's kind of what I'm interested in.
Yeah.
But I know my listeners, and it's like, they were probably like, get back to the money.
Get back to the money.
So tell me, like, I have a limitation on money and I want to break through it.
Yeah.
You just go out and start getting jobs, like do the psychiatry part with me.
Yeah, I think you got to get clear on what you want and why you want it. So the 4 questions that I ask people to start with: what do you want? Why do you want it? Why don't you have it? What are you willing to do to get it?
Well,
so what, why, what?
I want $1 billion.
Yeah. Why do you want it?
So I can live life free.
Okay.
And not worry about money.
Mm-hmm. And why don't you have it?
Because I haven't invented anything that's going crazy in the world.
Yeah. And what are you willing to do to get there? Are you willing to put in the time and the energy? Are you willing to be patient? Are you willing to cut corners? Are you willing to do the work? Are you willing to collaborate?
I'm willing to do anything.
Okay. Well, but for a lot of people, they're like, I want to be rich. And why? Because I want everybody to be impressed. And that's okay. Like, there's not even a judgment there. But if that's the reason, then what do you need to do to get there? How do you need to impress people? Or how do you need to, whatever it is. So there's not a judgment when I ask those questions. It's more about just a clarity and willing to be honest. Oh, I don't want people to think, yeah, I want to be super rich. I want it oozing out of my fingertips. Okay, own it.
I think everybody wants that though. They just don't know how to get it.
I don't actually. I used to believe that. There's a lot of people that don't want it.
Who?
There are a lot of people out there that are more interested in, like, I just want to have a family, or I just want to make an impact.
Well, become a billionaire, and I guarantee you the rest of that shit's coming real quick.
I don't disagree.
Do you believe more money, more problems?
I believe money amplifies whatever your situation is. So if you've got money stress and money anxiety, that just gets amplified. And if you're comfortable with money and you're comfortable with the choices you make, that just gets amplified so you can make even more choices.
What if you don't value money?
Well, if you don't value money, then I don't know why getting more would do anything for you, because it's just more of nothing.
Meaning you're frivolous.
Yeah,
because like me, I mean, I value money.
Yeah.
But I give it away so freely, like it's never going to end. And I've done it forever. And I think it's part of why I have it.
Well,
because I have an abundance mindset.
Absolutely.
I've literally spent, in this office right here, when I first moved in, I didn't have the money to pay for this building. I said, will you hold this check?
Yeah.
And the guy that owns it, he said, yeah, for how long? I said, like 10 days. He said, yeah, I'll hold it for 10 days. And I didn't have the money in the bank. I was just willing to write him a check because I knew I could go get it. And I always think, like, I can always go get more money. So when I'm probably being foolish, oh, let me buy this. Well, that's not very wise, spending all your money, but it's never bit me, really.
Yeah.
Do you think that's dangerous?
No. So I think that's a different distinction. I don't think that's frivolous. I do think that comes from a mindset of it's an exchange and it's a flow. And just like anything, you can't hold on to it because it's not going to go anywhere and come back. And you can't just get rid of all of it. It's an exchange. So I think in your case, I don't think that's being frivolous. I think that's trusting that there's a flow in and out. And I think that's different. And I think that goes to mindset. So when we're talking about mindset, that belief that, you know what, I'm going to let this go out and I'm not going to worry about it, because I know it's coming back in. That's the mindset where I think a lot of us would like to be. And that's where I want to see people.
Where are you? Are you a miser or are you frivolous?
I'm still a little bit tight with money.
Do you think that's a mindset?
It's part of my history. My parents were tight with money. We didn't always have money for a meal. We had electricity turned off on us as kids. And so
have I though.
I've got my pantry full of food and it doesn't hurt anybody, so I can laugh at myself in those little moments where I'm like, I'm not spending a dime. And then other times I'm super generous and will throw money out left and right, because I do ultimately believe that. And that's where I'm mostly at. But there's the part of me that goes back to my history. It's like, oh, that tightens up.
You think we're programmed as kids with these beliefs?
I do. And I don't think we're stuck with it. But like when some of that comes up for me, I go, oh, there's that old voice again. Ha! Man, that voice just wants to keep coming. That's okay. Thank you. And then I'll go back over here. But it does come up. It's a natural reaction. But I don't think it defines me.
Like that's a good word, because a lot of people that I think get in these ruts, they're scarcity based.
That's right.
And they don't believe that it's like, I believe more's coming.
Yeah, always.
Like, dude, come on. Like, easy. Don't worry about it. There's more coming.
Agreed.
And there always has been for me. And I think it's because I believe that that's the case.
Yeah.
Now, I'm hoping that I don't get proven wrong someday.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's a shortage of money. I think there's a shortage of people willing to go get it.
Yeah. I absolutely agree with that. And I would say I'm, 80% over there, 85%.
What do you think's stopping you to go the rest of the way?
Yeah, that's so unfair to throw this back on me. I think it's just that extra little bit of trust sometimes. And the reality is I know money comes in, like even when I'm not expecting, oh, there's more money. There's more money. So I know it's true. There's just that old voice that I just haven't quite gotten to quiet down.
Now, you have a CPA firm.
I do.
So if somebody listening wants to use you, obviously they can get a hold of you, but why you as opposed to any old CPA?
Well, I think one of the things that we do, and I brought in a partner 5 years ago, and she's very similar in mindset. We treat that money like it's our money. So if you're paying $10 in tax, that went out of my pocket. That's how it feels. So we're very strategic. We're not, oh, well, tough luck. We like to be creative. We like to figure out within the limits of the law, how do we beat it? How do we make it work in our favor? We're very strategic. We don't do our taxes in April. We start planning our taxes in October and November the year before, so that when we get to April, we hit all the numbers that we want to, because once the year's over, you've missed a lot of opportunity. So we work with a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of small businesses, because that's just my thing. And we understand people. We're not just like, this is what you owe, get over it. We have a little bit of compassion and empathy, and we understand, because we treat your money like our money.
So out of curiosity, if I'm an influencer, a public figure, and I buy, for example, a pretty watch, that's a costume. And costumes are tax deductible, aren't they?
Maybe. I'll give you a maybe.
I know, but that's what I'm always wondering, because if I go make a movie and I have to crash a car, the car's an expense.
Sure.
I have to buy a camera, that's an expense. The wardrobe calls for a beautiful, ensemble. That's an expense.
Absolutely.
Then if I'm a social media influencer and a public figure, legitimately.
Right.
And then why isn't that considered an expense or a costume?
And it could be. That's why I say maybe.
I know, but if you want my business, you're going to say it is. No, I'm joking. I
might not say it publicly.
Well, I don't want a CPA. Me personally, I don't want a CPA that's going to cheat and lie for me, because at the end of the day, I'm responsible just as much. Right. I want a CPA that knows the damn loopholes.
That's exactly right.
And they will say, you know what? Now, this doesn't work for everybody, but because you are a public figure it's provable, when you have X amount of dollars, you need to go buy something quickly before the end of the year, and we're going to write it off. Why? Yeah. Well, because you're an influencer.
Yeah.
So there might be influencers that don't take full advantage of their tax situation. I've talked to a lot of people that have big followings on social media, and they're, renting these yachts and these jets and these cars to look cool.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you can write all that off, I think. And they're like, no, you can't. I'm like, I think you could.
Yeah.
Oh, I check with my CPA and I'm like, dude, I'd get a new CPA, because I don't really think that's the case. I think it's open to interpretation a little bit, isn't it?
Yeah, always.
Look at the law and see if you fit in it.
That's exactly right. And we always tell people, look, if we feel like this story feels like nonfiction, we'll defend this story to the end, right? We'll go down that route, and here's what you need to avoid, or you're pushing over here, but over here we have some room. So it's unique to each person. I can't say just off the top, you can always do this, but we're always looking at that. We're looking, where can we find it? And some CPAs operate from fear. I don't want to talk to I used to be terrified of the IRS, and I worked with an ex-IRS agent. Well, because I thought they were, they have all this power. They don't, but they scare people. And once I learned that I could talk back to an IRS agent and challenge them and tell them they're wrong, or I don't agree with that, and they actually had to have a conversation with me, I got over a lot of my fear. And so I'm always looking at, I can push it here. I can defend that. Can I defend it? And, I don't tell people you have to do this. I just say, here's where there's some room. I could totally see that as a deduction. I had a client who I've had for, since the beginning, 30 years. And he went to 3 CPAs, gave them their tax return, and asked all 3 of us, is there anything wrong with this return? What would you do different? And it was a C Corp. And I looked and I said, why'd you pay tax? This is crazy. Like, you could have done this, this, and that. He goes, you're the only person that saw that. And he went to a CPA and he had said to him, why am I paying tax? And the guy goes, yeah, I could deduct those things, but you make a lot of money and you have to pay your fair share. I'm like, I'm not here to be the moral, how much you should pay the government. I'm here to follow and figure out how to beat the law in your favor.
Yeah, I would fire that guy immediately.
Yeah, he did. He did.
I mean, again, dude, it's all about, what does the law state?
Yeah.
That's all I care about.
That's right.
I'm not here to be some freaking savior to the tax economy because, number one, if I paid $1 trillion in tax, it'll disappear in 40 seconds. We're not helping anything.
40, you're generous.
So I mean, I do believe in paying taxes.
Yeah,
and I always say my goal is to be the largest taxpayer in the history of the world. I think Elon's that right now.
Yeah.
But that's why, because that means I would be making more.
Absolutely.
But when it boils down to it, I think a good CPA is something every entrepreneur and business owner should find.
Absolutely.
And Bomb Squad, I have not used Mr. Wheeler, but again, you can test him out, and I might. I need to find one that's creative and unafraid. Now, again, but smart. Yeah. I do not want to break a law.
Exactly.
I want to take advantage of the laws, like Donald Trump.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, people are mad at him for not paying taxes. Dude, he said it best when he was debating with Hillary. He says, Hillary, if you want me to pay taxes, then change the fucking laws.
Right.
Because, and I know you won't, because you and your wealthy friends are taking advantage of the same ones.
Right.
So at the end of the day, the people that are really know the law, and they have the lawyers to defend.
Right. And whether it's taxes, whether it's the world, whether it's whatever, you got to know the rules to beat them. Like, you can't go, I don't like this game. No, you don't like the game. Figure out the rules of the game and find a way to play it so you win. Don't make the game bad. Just learn the rules. Yeah,
like, I believe there's some sort of trust configuration you can put together where apparently, according to the statutes and the laws that I looked at, and I'm not a lawyer,
right?
It appeared that, hey, if you structure it like this, you don't owe any taxes.
Right.
And then you always hear about the people in prison that were saying the same thing.
Yeah.
So, like you say, IRS doesn't really have any power. Well, tell that to the people in prison.
Yeah. Well, IRS does not put a lot of people in prison. They may be in prison for fraud and some other embezzlement, things like that have nothing to do with IRS. That just happens to be federal or state law. But agreed, you got to check out the story. There are some things that are true, and then some things that sound similar to that aren't true. And so you really got to do your research and trust your team of people.
Well, give me a couple of things that most people wouldn't know.
Well, I'll tell you one that a lot of people think is especially LA, and we're here in Vegas. A lot of people in California think if I claim a Nevada residency, I can just put all my income in Nevada and not pay state tax. But California's smart about that. They're going to come in, if they audit you, they're going to look at your ATMs. And if you're down in Studio City or Venice Beach buying your meals every day, it's going to be hard to argue that you live in Nevada. And they're going to look at that kind of stuff. But there are things where, yeah, you can set up your own foundation and put a lot of money and take a write-off for that foundation. And then you can use that money to do some good works, but also, to pay a staff, they might be family, that you can actually write off a lot of stuff that's legit if you follow the rules. Self-directed IRAs are an amazing thing where you can buy and sell real estate and do all these things, but you gotta follow the letter of the law. You can't borrow some money from it and play. You got to be really diligent about following those rules. And a lot of people have moved money into Roth self-directed IRAs. They're making fortunes.
What about like cost segregation and writing everything off the first year?
Yeah, those things are great. Now, the bonus depreciation, the 100% you're talking about, it changed to 80, and this year it went to 60. We were hoping they were going to take it back to 100. That may happen.
So it will. We got the new leadership.
I would like to see it be 100% because 60% this year really sucked. But
what about jets?
Again, you can definitely deduct it, but they really, really look at it. So they're like, hey, here's a deduction you can take. And the minute you take it, they come in and scrutinize it. Jets work, but there's so much documentation. They look at logbooks and all that stuff. But yeah, a jet, as long as you're using it for business, or it appears that way, yeah, you're fine.
Some CPA used a video of mine to basically say I was wrong. And all I said was, they edited the video to make it look like I was making a claim. I'm not making claims. I'm just saying it out loud because I'm wondering. But like, let's say, for example, I want to go to Hawaii.
Yeah.
And when we go there, it cost me $20,000 because I'm going to go in nice, first class.
Yeah.
And when I get there, I'm going to ask somebody to buy my business. And they said no, of course. Mm-hmm. So I flew home.
Yeah.
Is that a business expense?
Sounds like it is to me.
Yeah, she said, no, you can't do that because and I'm like, dude, I don't understand how this shit works then. Because, dude, listen, if I was a dumbass and I said, I'm going to go try to sell someone my business in Greece, and I just happen to want to go to Greece too.
That's great.
That's a coincidence.
That's perfect timing. That's strategic. So I tell people, you're in the garment industry and you're going to India and the Middle East, great. Get me a couple of business cards of some fabrics you looked at.
That's what I'm talking about.
If you're in real estate, go get me some cards of some realtors you talked to about buying a business park or something in that city. Justify it.
If your wife is an employee,
absolutely,
she can go with you.
Absolutely. See
what I mean? Like, now you're starting to sound like the kind of CPA I'm looking for.
You have to be strategic, right? And so that's why I say, when I'm filing taxes, I'm telling a story. Now, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, it needs to seem like it's based on a true story, right?
Well, it is true.
Right. Exactly. But some people go out and do some stuff that's just, I can't defend it. Like,
no, that's lies.
That just doesn't. But there are a lot of things that we do that happen to personally benefit us that we can also write off. Yeah. And why wouldn't we?
Well, I didn't write off this watch, but I almost wanted to because, again, I'm an influencer, and a lot of these influencers run around flashing their money, so you'll follow them and you look cool. And I'm like, well, technically, I'm not a life. They're called lifestyle influencers. Right. I don't do that. I more just talk. But I thought, well, this is to get you to follow me, and that's part of my business. I make money that way.
It's a good argument. Most people use their phone to tell time, so it's a prop.
It's a prop.
Nobody uses a watch.
Now, if I did do that, would that be property of the corporation?
It would be.
And when I sold it, I'd have to pay taxes then? What?
Probably.
Because there's always some sort of little catch where that you think you got away with it, but you didn't cross every I or dot every I.
But at the end of the day, if it's your business and you're not selling it, that watch is staying with you, but we do warn, like, the California likes to do sales tax audits. And I remember a story, one of my peers was, the lady had like thousands of dollars of jewelry all over her that came from the business. And right before the audit, he's like, take all of that off because that's personal use and you're going to get in so much trouble. And so just being strategic to know, don't flash it in everybody's face. You know, with the PPP and the SBA loans, one of my clients works for the enforcement of all that. There was a car driving around and the license plate said PPP SBA, and it was like a $200,000 car. Yeah, they got audited. Like, don't advertise.
Trump says he's going to get rid of the IRS.
We'll see. We'll see.
But if that were to happen, then how would we raise revenues?
Well, he's talking about external tax revenue, right? The tariffs and all that stuff.
That's it? That's all there'd be?
Maybe he's talked about a national sales tax. There's different ways that we could do it. It would take a while to get rid of the IRS because we'd still have to deal with the prior years when it was in service. I don't think that'll happen. I certainly would love to see a simpler tax system. I think it's too complicated. And me personally, I have plenty to do besides just doing tax returns. I would love it to be simple. I think a lot of clients shouldn't have to come to me.
I would agree with that. I don't like the fact that they say, fill it out, tell us what you owe them. And we do. And then they'll send you a letter and say, nope, you were wrong. Well, why didn't you just send me the damn bill then? Right.
Yeah, it's way too complicated.
And I don't know how, but like every year, and by the way, I talk a big game. I overpay.
Right.
I do. I don't claim a million things I probably could.
Yep.
But every year, no matter what I pay, they come back and it's always some minor stupid amount. Like, you owe us $1,281. And I'm like, based on what? How am I supposed to go and verify that?
Yeah.
And not only that, here's my other question for CPAs. If you do my taxes, why am I responsible?
Well, because you may not have told me everything. You might have forgotten about a couple things, or you might not have realized something got reported.
But like you make me sign them, which means I'm saying that your math is correct. How do I know you're the CPA?
Well, you don't. You don't know. I could have made the mistake. You could have made the mistake.
So if I sign it, I go to frickin' jail.
You'll get a penalty. They don't really throw people in jail all the time like they used to. There's no jail. There's no IRS jail. But the thing is, I don't know everything. If you're not telling me stuff,
tell that to the Crisleys. You know the Crisley Knows Best family?
Yeah.
Savannah.
Yeah.
And the Todd and Julie. They're in prison right now for taxes.
Yeah. They are. And there are some people that will go there. Wesley Snipes almost went there, but
I think he did go there, didn't he?
He had to pay a whole bunch of money. I don't think they actually put him in. I had to go back and check that.
Well, if you get caught, thievery, you probably should teach you a lesson. But like when someone just didn't know,
yeah, well, for sure. If you didn't know, look, they'll hit you with the penalty. You pay the interest. Life is good. Sorry. But the thing is, like, I have a lot of clients that have multiple sources of income. What do? I wait until June when the IRS releases all the transcripts of all the money that's been reported on everybody, and I double check it. We go through and we go, oh, yep.
Is that why you extend?
Yeah. Yeah. So my clients, we extend specifically to see what got reported.
Well, that's a smart way to do it.
Well, in that way, they can't come back and say I missed it because I'm working off of your paperwork.
Not only that, but I mean, you really do, when you have lots of ways to make money, you do kind of forget.
Well, you do. And one of the things that's going to be a problem coming up this year, the 1099Ks. If you're using PayPal or Venmo and you paid the babysitter or you gave your friend the money to pay for dinner, you may end up getting a 1099. For anybody over $600, if they don't know if it's business or personal, everybody's getting 1099. So they've added a new little form on the little line on the tax returns to say, yeah, of the 5,000 in Venmo, only 3 was taxable. And it's on the honor system right now because they don't know what to do. It's crazy. People are getting 1099s they don't even know about.
Yeah. And what about, you were just saying, so that made me think of something else. See, that's the whole thing. Like, see, how are we supposed to know? They change shit all the time.
They do.
Like, dude, relax. Like, make a flat tax.
Yeah.
No exemptions, no deductions.
Simplify.
Don't give a shit where you live, how many kids you got, whether you went to school, didn't go to school, whether someone died, didn't die. What'd you make? Give me 20% of it. I would love that.
Yeah. Yeah. Canada used to have a very simple tax.
And if you did that, what's our GDP? I would bet our GDP's a couple hundred billion. No, trillion.
Yeah.
Trillion, yeah?
Yeah, probably.
Okay, so 20% of that would be $4 or $5 trillion. What's our annual deficit?
Yeah, definitely more than that.
I wonder what it is. I bet you if everyone paid flat tax across the board, we would have an excess.
I'm sure that we would, because right now there's so many ways to hide it. If everybody just had to pay, now some people have advocated just paying 10% of your net wealth as a tax.
Well, that's what they're hoping will happen.
Well, that's just, some people are advocating that instead of your money, just what's your net worth at the end of the year? You owe 10% on that.
I don't know about all that.
However you do it,
because let's say I make $1 million, I pay taxes. Mm-hmm. Now I got 600,000 left, and I say, here, brother, here's 50,000.
Yep.
Now they want money from you. I already paid tax on that money.
Yeah.
So it's not fair. And then, by the way, if you took the 50,000, now you paid tax.
Right.
And then you give him 10,000.
And he pays
tax.
That's right.
So they just tax that money 3 times.
Oh yeah.
That is not fair.
No. And then you got to pay city tax, and you got to pay property tax, and then you got to pay sales tax, and then you got to pay tax on the tax. We pay a lot of tax. We pay a lot of tax.
What country is the worst?
A lot of the countries in Europe, because they're covering all the, social programs, stuff like that. So some places you're paying 70, 80%. But
that's
now I wasn't around in the day, but theoretically, supposedly in the 60s and 70s in the US, people were paying 70% tax.
That would make the government your partner.
Yeah, and everything you do.
So a lot of people think, do you own your business? Yeah, I own my business. No, you don't. Yeah. You got a partner. No, it's mine. No. I guarantee you got a partner.
Yeah.
It's called Uncle Sam.
Yeah, majority owner.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
So what is your goal? How can the Bomb Squad help you?
Yeah, what's my goal? My goal is to normalize conversations around money. My goal is for people to start taking responsibility for their choices instead of blaming it at everybody else. Stop waiting for your ship to come in and go out and build your own ship. Like, make it happen. And so for me, I'm not out there going, I got to make millions doing this and that. My goal really is to, when I see people shift their mindset around money and then actually see them start bringing it in, it brings me joy. Like, it makes me happy, because in my family, money was such a taboo topic. And for so many people it is, that I would just love people to money's a non-issue. It's a non-issue.
If someone's looking for a CPA, because to me, I always thought CPAs are who files taxes. You get your accountant and deal with the CPA. Why wouldn't people just hire a CPA as their accountant?
Well, a lot of people probably should, but a lot of people shortcut. It's amazing. I've had clients say, you know what? You're charging me a couple $1,000s a year. I'm going to save money and not pay you. I had this happen with a client. I said, can I just see the tax return you do on your own next year? And they did. I'm like, you missed all the passive loss carry forward. You're going to pay $10,000. You just cheated yourself out of $50,000. And I'm not going to fix your return, but I'm going to tell you how to fix it. But yay-hoo, you saved $2,000. You just gave up 50.
Yeah, I always say a good CPA pays for themselves.
Pays for themselves.
And that's
always.
A fact. They don't even cost you money. They save you money.
And I turn people away. I tell them, I can't help you. I can't save you money, or at least save you what you're going to pay me. You need to go somewhere else. But for the people that I can save, I'm saving them a lot of money. But there are some people that are still penny wise, pound foolish, and they're not the people I can help. They're not going to change.
So if the Bomb Squad can patronize you, number one, go get your book.
Go get my book.
For $1, folks.
That's right.
For $1. Tell them the Bomb Squad sent you, so I get my 50% cut.
That's right. Absolutely.
That's where I was going to ask you. So what happens when someone pays you cash? Mm-hmm. How does the IRS know that?
Well, they don't. Honor system. So,
but what if someone filed a 1099 on you?
Well, then they should have mailed it to you. But again, that's why I wait until the summer to get the transcripts to see what got reported. But do they know? They don't know.
So if it's not on the transcripts and you file based on their transcripts, and then later it comes back, no, you made more than that. You lied.
they'd have to be able to prove it. So here's the one thing I would say. I'm not telling you to do this. If an IRS agent audits you, they're going to look at your bank accounts. So if you put money in the bank, if you did a whole bunch of cash transactions, you put that money in the bank, that's income to the IRS, and everything going out is personal unless you can prove it's an expense. So if, and I'm not saying you should do it, but if I was not going to want to make sure that money didn't get picked up, I'm probably not going to put it in my bank account.
What about receipts? Why do they always want receipts? Doesn't the credit card tell you exactly what you spent it on?
It doesn't. So let's say it just says I spent it at eBay. I could have bought some personal items that had nothing to do with business. So just the credit card charge doesn't mean that that's what it's for. But they're pretty forgiving. If it's Staples and Office Depot or things like that, okay, that's probably office supplies.
How important is it to save all your receipts?
I mean, I think it's good to save them. You only need to save them 3 years.
Dude, that's a shitload of receipts.
It is for some people.
Can't you just take a picture of them?
Yeah, absolutely.
Pictures work now?
Oh yeah.
I was told pictures are not.
Oh no.
Submittable.
We have people scan their receipts all the time. We keep everything scanned. We try to be paperless at our office.
So if I take a picture, boom, good enough.
Good enough. Yeah.
There's apps out there that'll do that too.
There's plenty of them. We highly recommend that. Who wants boxes of paperwork?
Yeah.
Don't bring me a grocery bag of receipts.
Okay, I keep interrupting you. I'm trying to get you out of here because I know you got to go. But how can the Bomb Squad help you?
So I think the Bomb Squad could help us. Check out the website, themoneynerve.com. And if you've got questions or want to do personal coaching, money coaching, want to work through some problems with your partner, give us a holler. If you want to do some tax strategies, the website will take you to my other website with the accounting firm. And buy the book for $1. Change your life. Why not?
Dude, get rid of your money limitations. Get rid of your subconscious blockage and literally watch the money flow in.
Yeah.
And you guys can follow him at the Bob Wheeler and at Money You Should Ask Pod. Oh yeah, that was what I want to talk about. You have a podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
Money You Should Ask.
Money You Should Ask.
And where do they find that?
That's on all the, God, I can't even think of any of the wherever they have podcasts, Apple, Spotify, any of those places. And if you want to learn about money and hear people share their money stories, I love actually asking people about their failures because that's where we learn.
Right on. Well, I appreciate you coming in.
Yeah, I appreciate it so much.
When you see my name come through the funnel, treat me like a VIP.
Absolutely.
Folks, you heard it. As always, till next time, hey, you can go to the Comedy Store, get yourself some laughs. That's always good for your health. Until next time, keep it real.